Today we're going to look at the story of Lazarus in the book of John. And this is a passage that's familiar. It's a story that's familiar to a lot of people, most of you, I'm sure. And it's kind of one of those stories that there's two things I think about when I think about the story of Lazarus is that, one, when people tell me that the Bible's boring, I always kind of think about these stories because they're amazing. They're incredible when you really think about it. And the other thing, when I read this passage, I think about the fact that, we watch all of these movies made in Hollywood or wherever they're made, and they have all these special effects and all of these incredible storylines. And, this would definitely be a great storyline. It would beat any of those crazy zombie shows that are out there. I've never watched those. But, this is the incredible story of God actually bringing someone, Jesus bringing someone back to life after they had passed away. And so I want to look at this story today and see a couple of things that maybe we can pull from it. Obviously, the main part of the story that we get from that, but there's just a few nuggets to me that as I was reading through it kind of stand out to me. And so I just want to share those with you today. So we're going to read in John chapter 11, and we're going to end up reading quite a few passages between this week and next week. We're going to take this story and break it into two parts this week and next week. But we're going to start at the beginning of John 11, chapter 1, and we're actually going to read several verses here, and then we'll stop and look at a couple of things. So starting in verse 1, it says, "Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick." You'll remember that story for those of you that read that passage where she anointed Jesus' feet and wiped it with her hair. And it was just a beautiful passage. That's an incredible story too. But this was her brother Lazarus who was sick. And it said, "Therefore the sisters sent to Jesus and said, 'Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick.' And when Jesus heard that, he said, 'This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it.' Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was." That's always an interesting couple of scriptures that are back to back, where he gets word that Lazarus is sick. And it says in verse 5, "Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So he stayed in the town where he was for 2 days." Those don't go hand in hand to me when I read that. It's like, well, if he loved them and he knew he was sick, drop everything and go. We'll get to that in a second. And so it says in verse 7, "Then after this, he said to the disciples, 'Let us go to Judea again.'" So I want to look at these first few verses and look at a couple things we see. The first thing is exactly what I was just alluding to there, is that we oftentimes feel like when we have a situation in our life, we expect Jesus to just kind of be Johnny on the spot, right? We expect Jesus to just drop everything and deal with it. And when we understand and remember that Jesus sees the big picture, he's not caught off guard. He's not unable to meet you. He's not unable to touch you, to set you free, to heal you, to deliver you. Whatever it is that you're asking God and you're feeling like, "Lord, I really need you to deal with this in my life right now." I'm sending word to you in this picture. Mary and Martha were sending word to Jesus that, hey, he's sick. We need you to come heal him. And we just expect Jesus to be that. He just drop everything and we say jump and he says, "How high?" That's what we kind of expect out of Jesus. And the fact of the matter is, Jesus doesn't have to do anything, but in his grace and mercy, he is loving and compassionate, and he will do the things that he knows is perfect for our life. In other words, we oftentimes seek things from the Lord that he has a bigger picture in mind. That's why we just need to remember to always pray, "Lord, not my will, but your will be done. Lord, I want you to come do this right now, but if you have something bigger and greater and better." And in this passage, it even said, in verse 4, he said, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it." In other words, he was looking beyond what Mary and Martha were seeing, that there was something that was going to happen here, that God was going to get even more glory. So he's like, I can stop and move and go and heal Lazarus, or we could wait and see the glory of God be revealed in a much bigger picture. But when you're Mary and Martha and your brother's sick, and you need him healed, and you want him healed, it's hard to look that far down the path and trust God for his glory to be revealed in a bigger matter. You just want him to answer it right now, right? I mean, we've all been guilty of that. That would be a common thing. So let's look at this in verse 4. Let me go back and look at verse 4. It says that he stayed for 2 more days You know, sometimes in our situation, in our lives, we feel like Jesus stays for 2 more days, right? And 2 more days can feel like 2 more years or 10 more years. When you're seeking God for an answer, when you're seeking God for that healing, when you're seeking God for your prodigal children to come home, when you're seeking God for direction and wisdom in your job, whatever's going on in your life, we kind of look at our life and go, yeah, he waited 2 more days in my life too. And we kind of start to feel like that was 2 more years. We feel like it drags on and on and on, and God's timing is perfect. His timing is perfect. Our job is to trust Him and to know that He's got everything under control. But let's go on and read the next few verses here. Verse 8, it says that the disciples said to Him, Rabbi, lately the Jews sought to stone you, and you are going there again. And Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in a day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. But if one walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. These things He said, and after that He said to them, Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him up. And then it says the disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought He was speaking just about resting in sleep. Then Jesus said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. I love the bluntness of Jesus right here. And He says, And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him. This is an incredible passage here because the disciples are thinking Jesus talking about Lazarus is resting, as in just sleeping. So he'll get better, sleep it off, he'll feel better, he'll wake up and feel better. And Jesus finally looks at him and says, no, he's dead. He is dead in this moment. And so in this next verse in 15, He says, I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him. This verse is amazing to me because, you know, sometimes in order to reach someone else, Jesus might choose to delay your answer. See, Mary and Martha wanted Jesus to heal him, and He waited 2 days to go. And He already knew in this passage that Lazarus had already died at this point. 2 days had passed, he had already died, and Jesus knew it. Jesus could have dropped everything and went to heal him before he died, but He said to His disciples, I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm glad I wasn't there to heal him, because I could have just healed him, and that's what you would have expected. But because of this delay that He takes in answering this prayer, He's going to get much more glory of God to be shown to more people. More people are going to see it. And this miracle, because we know the end of the story, He ends up going and raising Lazarus from the dead. We're going to get into that next week. But in this moment, the delay on Jesus' part to reach someone else, to reach a greater purpose, to reach a bigger crowd, to show His glory, the Lord may choose to delay your request. Can He trust you with that? Can He say to you, I know you're going to be okay. I know you're going to keep serving me. Even though you wanted me to answer it this way and I didn't, can I trust you to trust me? Can He say that to us today? Are there some things that maybe the Lord is trusting us with to wait and to delay in our answers because He's got a greater purpose? You know, if we got everything we wanted, it probably wouldn't really be what we wanted in the end because, again, the Lord knows best. Mary and Martha would rather Him hurry up, hurry and get there, hurry up and get here and answer our prayer requests. But His delay would show a bigger miracle and make a bigger impact in the lives of so many people. But that's hard. I mean, you think about Mary and Martha, where they were sitting in that moment. They wanted Jesus to answer. They wanted Jesus to save their brother. They loved their brother. What is it in your life that you have that you're saying, Lord, but I don't see why you wouldn't do this. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be a good thing for you to do, God. But God is seeing this bigger picture of things in our life and able to say, can I trust you with the fact that you're going to feel like I've let you down? You're going to feel like that you're going to be discouraged in the fact that I didn't hear you and I didn't answer the way you expected. Can I trust you with that? Will you trust me to look at the bigger picture and touch more people through this on the other side? See, Jesus knew that death could not prevail in His presence. Jesus knew that death could not prevail in His presence. He knew that if He went there and called forth for Lazarus to come forth, that death could not prevail. Death would not have victory. You know, it's the same for you and me in our situation, in our lives. Death cannot prevail when Jesus steps on the scene. What is it that you feel like in your life has died? What dream do you feel like has died? What promise do you feel like God has given you and it's died? What is it truly that you have in your life that you feel like it's just died? Can I tell you something? That when Jesus steps on the scene in your situation, when Jesus steps into that moment, death cannot prevail. It is impossible for the death to prevail. But your situation may seem dead. You may feel like it's dead. You may feel like those dreams are gone and that promise is gone. But let me pose this scenario to you. Either He's let it die for a reason. He's let it die because He has something better for you. Something that you thought was what He wanted you to do. You thought this would be a great solution. You thought this would be a great answer. Well, maybe He has something better for you and He let that thing die. Or maybe He will resurrect it at the right time. And in resurrecting it, just like He did Lazarus, His power would be shown to a greater group of people, a greater influence. The testimony on the other side of the situation that you're facing is going to show God's glory to so many people. There's going to be something that you had to walk through, you had to struggle through, you had to lean on Christ more than you ever had to. You had to trust Him deeper than you've ever trusted Him, and He trusted you to do that so that His power and His glory could be shown on such a greater capacity to a greater audience. There is someone in your life that's watching you possibly. I don't know your situation. They're watching you struggle through a situation and they're seeing how you do it. They're seeing how you put your faith in Christ, how you have joy in the middle of such a struggle. And through all of that, His glory is shown, His power is shown, and people that don't even know Christ look at you and say, wow, if she made it, I can make it. Wow, if he got through that situation, I can get through that situation. And then they come to you one day and say, how did you make it? How did you find joy in the middle of such great loss? You know, so many people right now have been experiencing such incredible loss, unexpected loss of lives, people passing away. And it's all so sad and so tragic. But you know, even in the middle of the greatest loss of our life, when we have Christ as the cornerstone of our life, we can have joy in the most dire set of circumstances. And whatever it is in our life that we see that looks like it's dead, the Lord can either say, yeah, it's dead because I'm going to replace it with something greater, or it's dead in your life because I'm going to resurrect it at the right time. And then people are going to see my glory and my power. Because, you know, to see Him heal somebody was a great, wonderful miracle, and that's fabulous. But to see Him raise somebody from the dead, now we're talking about amazing, amazing things, right? Well, whatever is dead in your life, can I say to you, trust God with it. Trust God with it, either to resurrect it at the right time and to replace it with something that you really need, something that's so much better, something that's so much greater. Trust Him with that. Or trust and know that it's that thing, that situation, that dream, that idea that you had going on, if it seems to be dead and dormant, it could be because He's just going to replace it with something so much greater. Trust Him today is the point. In any situation we face, let's trust Him and not expect Him just to jump because we have a need. Let's trust Him to say His timing's perfect, His ways are perfect. The Bible says His thoughts are higher than our thoughts, His ways are higher than our ways. We're just, humans on this earth walking around, and He is God. So today, let's say, Lord, I trust You in spite of what I see, in spite of what's happening. I trust You today with everything I have, and I know that death cannot prevail in Your presence.